Hello, everybody. Sean Davis here for the Raptors Nation, your home for everything Raptors. The All-Star break is now officially behind us. The All-Star game, luckily, is behind us. What a crapshoot that was. Sean Davis here, joined by Luca Rosano. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_DABI. Luca, I don't know yours by heart. I feel awful.
Wow, I'm offended, man. I thought we were like each other's best friend on Twitter.
Wow.
It's at Luca Rosano 3.
There we go. But Luca, how you doing, man? Glad to be back after a very weird All-Star weekend.
Yeah, I'm glad we're gonna get NBA basketball. It feels like it's been forever since we played some meaningful basketball. The NBA's been
Real
off.
NBA basketball.
Real NBA basketball. NBA's been off since Thursday, and yeah, we could talk a bit about it if you want, but the All-Star break was a dud in my opinion. I didn't really enjoy it. Mac McClung saved it with the dunk contest, but aside from that, wasn't a whole lot to look forward to. Wasn't a whole lot to get excited about, especially the All-Star game in itself. I called it one of the worst All-Star games I've ever seen on Twitter. A lot of people seem to agree. Even Mike Malone said it was the worst basketball game he's ever seen, and that's coming from one of the best coaches in the NBA. So yeah, the All-Star game has a lot of work to do, Sean. It felt like they turned the corner with the new rule of the target score, but based on what we just saw, it still looks like they have a lot more work to do to make this game good enough where fans like us can sit through and watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, the thing with the target score is it's only effective if the game is close, like last year, right? Which last year I think it's kind of overrated because last year you remember it fondly, but only because Steph went nuts and LeBron had the game winner, right?
Yeah.
That's in Cleveland. That's the only reason why that game is remembered fondly. You eliminate those two factors, that game is also bad. But the 4 years prior, I will give it credit, like 18, 19, 20, 21, all great, are all like relatively good, right? Are like fun to watch. I'd said this with Trevor Lane over at Lakers Nation talking about it. I was like, the most fun part about like All-Star night was the draft. And I think they botched the draft still because I didn't like how it was. Like in theory, it sounded cool, but like no, I much rather prefer the TV one where they sit down because you're going to cut to commercial break anyway. Yeah. It's just super awkward having LeBron and Giannis first off go through. You have like 15 players just sit there waiting, and then you got to go to commercial break. Then they're just sitting there thinking, oh, whoop-de-doo. And then you come back, and then you have the starters, and then you have the actual no, I everything about that night, I felt from an NBA standpoint was just off.
And there ended up being a last pick anyway, so they didn't even solve that problem. Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I felt awkward watching Jokic and Markkanen still on the stage and trying to figure out who was going to go next. And it looked like LeBron was going to pick Markkanen, and then Jokic is like, nah, I'm not getting picked last, because who wants to get picked last, especially when you're a starter? So, yeah.
Especially when you're probably about to be a 3-time MVP.
Yeah, that's not a good look for the league at all, that your potential 3-time MVP was on the verge of getting picked last. I want to say this, bright spot of the weekend actually came on Saturday. Obviously, the dunk contest, that was a spectacle. But Pascal Siakam, paying homage to Shaquille O'Neal with the camcorder, I thought that was really cool.
That was awesome.
One of the standout moments from just a photo that sticks out to my mind where, it was cool. Just seeing Siakam kind of like, live it up, have a good time, and pay homage to Shaquille O'Neal when he had his camcorder. And I thought that was really cool of Siakam to bring that out. So a little throwback for all of us from Pascal Siakam on NBA All-Star Saturday night.
Yeah, and you want to talk about like us being Twitter best friends, and we had a little Twitter exchange as well, because talking about the last pick thing, like that is just stupid. Like, first of all, I don't think anybody was ever really like thinking about it that much to where that was a problem that needed to be addressed. Like, oh man, it just NBA. I pitched to Trevor that you move it back NFL style to like after the season's over with, where there's no more meaningful games left to be played for that season. because maybe I don't know for sure. Maybe that's what the problem is. Like these guys, they're saving energy because there's especially like if you're a Celtics player, a Bucks player, if you're basically on any of the contending teams, right? You're not going to go all out in an All-Star game where you have 20 plus regular season games left plus the playoffs. I don't know, Luca. Do you have any ideas how to fix the All-Star game?
It's pretty tough. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in future if they kind of take the Pro Bowl route where there's no more game and it's just a bunch of mini games because it's called for what it is. NBA All-Star Weekend, you're now most looking forward to the Saturday, and that is the three-point shootout, the dunk contest, and whatever else went on. So maybe it's just a variation of that. I saw a lot of people pitch on Twitter. They would love to see a one-on-one contest or a three-on-three contest or tournament. I don't think that would ever happen just because the NBA is, let's call it for what it is. It's an ego-driven league. And I think that's part of the reason why we don't see these guys go hard during the game, because these guys want to protect their egos. They know it's social media driven. NBA Twitter goes nuts. If, a star player gets dunked on, they're not going to hear the end of it. So I think they play it safe from that reason. They just want to kind of protect their image, protect their ego, protect their brand, and they just go out there and not give it 100%. But, they got to figure out a way to just keep it engaged and entertaining. They got to at least play defense during the game. I feel like when defense is played, it makes for better basketball. And another thing, too, to cut it a bit of slack was this NBA All-Star game in particular, Sean, was missing a lot of star power. I mean, you talk about KD not being there. Giannis not playing because he was dealing with the injury. He literally played, the first minute. LeBron didn't really play in the game. Stephen Curry, who I thought single-handedly carried last year's All-Star game just because he's able to shoot it from downtown, from half-court range and beyond that. So no Zion as well. So there were a lot of big names missing, which really I think took away from the product.
Ja didn't really play, if I recall. Ja didn't really play like he cared at all.
No Kawhi.
Crap. Jokic and Luca just doesn't feel like all-star game players. So two of your biggest stars, but they aren't all-star game players.
No AD, who's an all-star game player.
No AD. So you look at, we just listed off 10 of the top 15 best players in the NBA.
And they weren't there.
Right, who either didn't play or two of them probably the third and fourth best player, in my opinion, who aren't all-star game players. And Jokic even said himself, he's like, yeah, I'm not an all-star game dude. That's just what it is. So,
no Trae Young, who's another all-star game player. A lot of all-star game players weren't there. And that's a good point. For as much as I love
an all-star?
That's right. Yeah, I don't remember him being in the game, but
I remember him playing. He had to be an all-star. Dude,
he had to be.
Dude's on the fourth best team in the East. He dropped 71 or something. What was it, 72? I don't remember. You tell me, was it an all-star?
Wait, dude, he wasn't. What the? No, he was. We're tripping bad right now. Yeah.
Okay.
It said he had 40 points. Dude, that's
in the All-Star game?
Yeah, that's how bad the All-Star game was. I don't remember.
He did. He was Cook. I remember now. So
oh my God. That's how bad the game was then, though. That's how bad it was that I don't even remember Donovan Mitchell playing in this game. Wow.
All right, it's coming back to me now because I remember now it was him and Tatum trading buckets on the same team for a second. Because I promise you, Luca, the only two players I remembered was Tatum at only three. Was Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Embiid, because I think Embiid had 35 or something.
I honestly couldn't even remember. Yeah, DeRozan, I don't remember him playing. He had 8 points. And just looking at the rosters very quickly, a lot of with all due respect, a lot of non-All-Star game players. Lauri Markkanen, he's been a great story, but non-All-Star game player. Bam. Domantas Sabonis, same thing. Love his
Sabonis
game.
definitely is. Sabonis is in the same category as a Jokic. He's not an All-Star game player.
Drew Holiday, Jaren Jackson Jr., Julius Randle.
Come on.
Yeah.
But
All right, I think we bashed this game enough because, yeah, we could go on for another 20, 30 minutes bashing the All-Star game. But yeah, let us know, guys, in the comments. How do you think the NBA should go about fixing NBA All-Star Week, and particularly the game? Should they scrap it? Should they add something? Or should they just take a completely different route? Let us know.
Yeah, and how about, I think the easiest option, NBA, you have the money, just get a cure to all injuries. Just inject the players, your big money players with it. Make sure they're good to play the All-Star game. That's all. Because I didn't even think about it that way, Luca, when you mentioned it. Like, every big time All-Star game star didn't really play. So
yeah.
Yeah,
that definitely hurt it for sure.
Yeah. And like you said, Steph kind of saved last year's. Not kind of. He did save last year's All-Star game. So, but enough of the All-Star game. We've already wasted 11 precious minutes that we'll never get back talking about it. Let's talk about some actual NBA basketball. The NBA starts back up today at the time of this, time of the release today. The Raptors will kick things back off, facing up against a very hobbled New Orleans Pelicans team who, like we mentioned, is still without Zion Williamson. And Luca, the way we ended off last show, it's going to be the same way we're going to kick off the real topics of this show. The schedule for the Raptors out of the All-Star break: the Pelicans, the Pistons, a Cavs team who we've already beat, I believe, 3 straight times.
Yep.
And then you got the Bulls, who at this point just need to blow it up or like something. We've been saying the same thing with the Bulls all year. And then a back-to-back with Washington. Luca, let's just focus on the first 6 games. What is your record prediction for the Raptors first 6 games out of the All-Star break? What's your prediction, and what do the Raptors need to be coming out of that 6-game stretch?
Yeah, no more room for error, obviously. Raptors, 23 games left in the season. Time of this release, 10th final play-in spot. What helped them a lot was the Bulls taking a little bit of a step back, and I really don't see them getting back into this thing. I know they got Pat Beverly, and he made that comment about your Lakers, how he would love to eliminate the Lakers from the playoffs, but I don't think Pat Beverly is going to move the needle for Chicago's problems and everything that they've had going on over there. Sean, they got to come out running and gunning. No excuses. They got to beat the Pelicans, who you just mentioned, very much banged up. They got to beat the Pistons, who at this point have no business winning any more of these games, as they're obviously in full-on tank mode. The Cavaliers don't scare me because the Raptors have had their number. They have not lost to the Cavaliers yet this season. And then, yeah, the Bulls, they're in shambles. And then Washington, I would say this. I'll put some respect on Washington's name out of this 6-game stretch because Washington, number one, they're ahead of us in the play-in. And number two, they've shown a lot of good signs this season. I know it's been an up and down season for them, but they've had, sprints where they have looked like a competent basketball team. So to answer the question, I think the Raptors need, at the very least, to go 4-2. I was originally going to say 5-1, but 4-2, I still think you could get away with it just because of how flexible the play-in is ultimately going to be. But you go 3-3 or worse than that, and I really don't see this team saving their season at that point, because we're going to get into it in just a little bit. The 6 games after that, absolute gauntlet, tough 6 games going up against the best of the West. The Raptors have no room to play here. You got to come out and you at least got to take 4 of these next 6.
So you go 4-6. You would improve to 32-33. Yep. What?
No, I said 4-2. You said 4-6.
I said 4-6. Whoops. Yikes. 4-2. 4-6 probably ends your season. 4-2 in the next 6. And the Raptors would improve to 32-33. But then, like Luca mentions, you have a gauntlet next 6 right after at Denver, at the Clippers, at LA. Then you come back for Denver again at home against Oklahoma City, who's been tough. Hopefully, for honestly all parties involved, my party, both parties, Lakers and the Raptors' sake, that the Thunder fall off a map at this point. This game is as tough as it is, but who knows? Maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander comes home to his home country of Canada and wants to drop 50. Who knows? And then you have the Timberwolves, and then you have the Bucks again.
So 7 games that are, in a row.
Yeah. And then even after, like, Indiana's going to be tough at home. the Pistons, the Wizards, those should be fine. But like, you got to go 4-2. I'm actually going to go a step further and say 5-1. Like, the only game that I would even consider reasonably okay to lose is Cleveland, and that's still because Cleveland is the top 4 team. But like, you just have to go 5-1 because the rest of the schedule outside of that, there's 3 games, 4, the rest of the way, where I'm like, the Raptors are going to win. Like, it is going to happen. The Raptors will win. That's Detroit, March 24th, Washington, March 26th, Charlotte, April 2nd, Charlotte, April 4th. The last game of this 6-game trip is March 4th. So from March 6th to March 24th, there is not a single game where I'm like, I can confidently say the Raptors will win, right? And that's why the Raptors have to go 5-1 because the schedule after that first 6-7 games, so it gets really brutal.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call the Wizards a gimme game because the Wizards, I think that's going to be a tough team to beat. And right now they're 9th, and they're on a 2-game winning streak. And then, I personally overlooked the Pacers, which is probably not a good idea because looking at it now, the Pacers are only 2.5 back of the play-in. So the Pacers still have a chance at the play-in. That's a team that's probably going to want to play hard and compete, especially after making the splash of a trade they did at last year's deadline. So why wouldn't they try to get into the play-in and try to get those guys some meaningful reps closer to playoff time? So yeah, you know what? I think 5-1 is actually more ideal. And now that I think about it, not to plug my channel or anything, I did say in the video that the Raptors needed to go 5-1, needed to be over 500 going into that 6-game West stretch to feel good about themselves. And you do the math, if the Raptors are able to go 5-1, they would be a game over 500. So I think they would look a lot better compared to being 1 game under 500 if they were to go 4-2. So it's going to be tough though. Like 5-1, man, like that's very optimistic. I don't know if you could go 5-1. Look, I'm not ready to overlook Washington. I think the Raptors lose at least one of those 2 games. And then, can you beat the Cavaliers again? It's really hard to beat a team twice, really hard to beat them 3 times. And it's even tougher to beat them 4 times. So that 5-1 would be awesome, obviously. But I think that's going to be a huge stretch. We'll see if I'm proven wrong, though.
Yeah. Luca, what else should we discuss here heading into this final stretch of the season where the Raptors, they gotta prove that going all in was the correct move? Because you and I both agreed that they had to make some trade. They did make a trade, but it was a curveball, which neither of us really agreed with. Luca, help me out here.
Yeah, so I just want to backtrack here a bit. I think the move for Jakob Poeltl, if we're looking at it from a big picture standpoint, I think it'll end up being a good one from a buyer's perspective a couple of seasons down the line here if the Raptors can lock him up this offseason long term. That's the only way that I'm confidently going to say here that was a great move. Because if you can lock up Poeltl, he's already shown that he can be the fix at center for this team for the next couple of seasons. And by the way, I got to give him his flowers. He had 30 points going into the All-Star break and 5 blocks. Like, unbelievable. Joining David Robinson of putting up that type of stat line without a 3-pointer made or going to the free throw line. So that just tells you the type of night he had against Orlando. So if Poeltl continues to shine, and by the way, I think if the Raptors are going to turn their season around and go on an impeccable run here and completely flip the narrative, Poeltl's going to be a big reason why. Because number one, he can give the Raptors some much needed offensive production. I mean, he's not going to drop 30 points every night, but he's a center who can, fill up the stat sheet nicely and get some points of his own. And he's really going to help the Raptors defense because we've already seen the Raptors defense look a lot better with Poeltl out there because the Raptors finally have a true rim protector, right? So if the Raptors are going to make this run, get back into it, make the playoffs, it's going to be thanks in large part to Poeltl and also what he's doing to this team, because you can already see on a small sample size scale that the Raptors seem to have a bit of newfound energy, a bit of new life with Jakob Poeltl out there. Obviously, he's really good friends with Pascal Siakam. He's familiar with the Raptors system as they drafted him. He knows some of these players already. familiar with the coaching staff and, like I said, management. So Jakob Poeltl is going to be the key to all of this, and just how the players fuel themselves and energize themselves with him being there in the mix. But I'm not going to put expectations on Poeltl that he's got to be the savior of the season. What I'm getting at here is if Poeltl can continue to play well and he can show that he can be the Raptors' long-term solution at center. I mean, he's still fairly young, and the Raptors are able to get him at a good deal this offseason. Then I'm a lot more okay with them trading for him at the deadline than if, let's just say, worst case scenario, the Raptors completely fall out here, they're a lottery team, and by some way Poeltl walks, then that would be a disaster. So I think all things said, Raptors just got to try to finish out the season strong. As much as I wanted them to sell and tank, at this point, it doesn't make sense, especially when you bring in a guy like Poeltl that does make your basketball team better. So we'll see how this team looks. But I think what's going to be more interesting, Sean, and again, we could do a different video on this or a different show because we can get into it for an hour plus, I feel, is the offseason. Because I think the offseason is going to be more intriguing for this Raptors team than whatever else is going to happen this season. Because with all due respect, even if the Raptors get in, I think we can both agree at best they can make it to the second round and that's it. But this offseason,
that's what we spent a lot of time talking about in the last pod.
Yeah. And like this offseason is where I think the magic is truly going to happen of the decisions that need to be made. Poeltl, can they ink him to a long-term deal, or is he going to, do the Raptors dirty and walk? Van Vliet, I saw a report today. I don't know how much credibility was on it, but reportedly Orlando is going to be throwing the bag at Van Vliet. Can the Raptors somehow swing a sign and trade so you don't lose him for nothing? And then, of course, Gary Trent Jr. And then even beyond that, OG Anunoby. Raptors didn't trade him, reportedly unhappy, all those things. You could call them rumors or whatnot, but you better believe that there's going to be teams calling the Raptors again this offseason, inquiring about OG Anunoby. So we'll see how this season plays out, but I think a lot of the decisions will have to be made this offseason.
And quick side note, with the Magic thing, maybe I'm still a Jalen Suggs homer because I loved him coming out of the draft. I actually secretly, I think I wanted the Raptors to get Jalen Suggs. I don't see a Fred VanVleet. I don't see that fit in Orlando. Not yet. I think they would be like trying to win a year too early, if that makes sense. So, but that is, I guess that's really more so where my problem lies. That is a good idea to do a whole separate video on the Raptors situation heading into this offseason because the fact of the matter is what the Jakob Poeltl trade did, and maybe why I was a little bit more perplexed by it, was you have to decide. I mean, unless you want to pay all three, but just based off the Raptors' track record, I'm not sure they're going to pay Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., and Jakob Poeltl, and you don't trade for Jakob Poeltl, give up albeit it's a protected first-round pick, but if it doesn't convey, it would transfer to 2025 and 2026 and so on. You wouldn't trade a first-round pick for 20 games of a center that for this year at least isn't going to move the needle all too much. So that's really where I'm curious to see and think about Luca is effectively, are the Raptors going to choose Gary Trent Jr. or Fred VanVleet? If they choose Gary, who the hell is going to be the point guard next year?
Yeah, I know. That's going to be interesting. And I think that's where the Raptors are at this point, if I had to guess. I think for sure they're going to lock up Jakob Poeltl because, like you said, Sean, they didn't trade for Jakob Poeltl and give up a first-round pick for just 20-plus games of him. Like, obviously, There's some, communication going on that you get the good sense that they are going to lock up a deal. And it seems like Jakob Poeltl likes it here anyway. And he's, again, a really good friend of Siakam. They get along like, two best friends. It's going to come down to what you just said. Who are they going to keep? Is it going to be Fred VanVleet or Gary Trent Jr.? If I had to make a quick prediction on the show, I think Fred's gone. I really do. I would just be super, super perplexed and shocked if the Raptors give Fred the money that he's reportedly wanting to get. And by the way, he's got new representatives now. So like they're obviously going to want to give him the bag. Like, are the Raptors really going to pay Fred the 30 to 35 plus million that he's expected to receive or what's said to be his value? I just don't see it. I think it would make so much more sense. You bring back Gary Trent Jr., who's got, I think, more
figure out the
upside.
point
He's
guard
younger.
situation later.
And then, then you figure out who's going to play point guard for you after that. But so it's reported that Fred could get that $30 to $35 million ballpark that he's probably going to be anticipating. And I just don't see the Raptors paying him that. And look, I know the Raptors management, it's been said that they're still high on Fred, but personally speaking, I don't think it would make sense. I think the Raptors would be better off bringing back a Gary Trent Jr. for less money, more upside, younger player. And I know that would give the Raptors a situation where they would have to then figure out who's going to play point guard for them. But I mean, I would not be satisfied, if you will, if the Raptors were to bring back Fred for that type of contract, and a guy like Gary Trent Jr., who I'm a big supporter of. I think he's going to get even better than he is now, and he's still so raw in his development. You just let him walk and go on to another team. So it'll be interesting to see what the Raptors do. But my prediction is they definitely bring back Pirtle. They swing Fred VanVleet in some sort of sign and trade, and they keep Gary Trent Jr. And look, maybe to your point of like Fred not being a good fit in Orlando because they have Suggs. I don't know salaries. I don't have it in front of me, but I don't know. Could Orlando make a sign and trade work with the Raptors where they take in Fred VanVleet and they give us one of their point guards? And
wouldn't that get Jalen Suggs?
And wouldn't that be funny? You get Suggs and Barnes after there was that whole war of we took Barnes and we're supposed to take Suggs and all that.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. And I guess also Gary Trent Jr., like you mentioned, honestly younger. He's also in today's NBA. I don't know. I still think a point guard is about the same, if not more valuable than a wing. But I think there's more point guards to be found at, I don't know if cheaper is the right word, but cheaper price tags than it is to find a wing. So I think I agree, actually. You keep Gary Trent Jr. around. Maybe you draft a point guard. I haven't dived completely into this draft class yet. That's a project I'll be working on in a couple of weeks. But, maybe you draft a point guard. I really wanted Andrew Nembhard last year. Makes the Christian Koiloko pick look a lot stupider now because you just traded for Jakob Poeltl. But
that's a good point.
Neither here nor there. But so it'll be interesting to see, Luca, what the Raptors do this summer and what the Raptors can do for the remainder of the season. For Raptors Nation, comment down below. What do you guys want to see the Raptors do this offseason? What do you guys think the Raptors can achieve this for the remainder of this season? Go check out Luca's channel as well. I think it's just your name, right? Luca Rosano on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Does a bunch of great stuff over there. And as always, guys, stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.